big story. President Obama clowning around for BuzzFeed. It's an attempt to be funny. It's a way to promote Obamacare to young people. He's doing this just as the Middle East explodes. Listen to this. Al-Qaeda fighters have overrun an army base in Yemen, freeing more than 60 captured soldiers and government officials. ISIS has reportedly seized most of a western Iraqi town called al-Baghdadi, which is a 13-minute drive from an airbase where 300 U.S. Marines are training Iraqis. We are joined now by the chairman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, Congressman Ed Royce. Congressman, I wonder if you'd tell us what was your first reaction when you saw that video that we've just run for our viewers. What did you think when you first saw it with the Middle East exploding as the backdrop?
Stuart, the first thing I thought about was the contrast between how the administration is using social media as opposed to how ISIS is using social media. ISIS has effectively used social media not only to drive their message in the Middle East, but now worldwide. And of course, the problem with using social media is that other people see it, besides those here in the United States. So we're sending a very unserious message, but the message that ISIS is sending is deadly serious, and it's earned them tens of thousands of new recruits. But in the meantime, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Congressman, but when you saw that ad, when I first saw that ad, I thought frankly, it was disturbing, because this is the President of the United States of America. I've never seen any president act like that before, ever, not even close. How did it strike you when you first saw it?
As it struck you, we are not used to seeing the Commander-in-Chief of the United States at a time when we're at war, although he might not acknowledge that war. I guarantee you, ISIS believes we're at war. And although he may call them the junior varsity team and he might dismiss this, the reality is that had he given the order to bomb ISIS from the ground as it was leaving Syria to begin to take over town by town in Iraq, those cities, we could have hit them out on the open road. His own ambassador in Iraq asked him to take it seriously at that time and to strike those columns out on the desert. He refused to do so. So we went 8 months, virtually 8 months, with ISIS on the attack without any response from the United States. And still, I am told by the Kurds, they cannot get the armament they need, the anti-tank missiles, the artillery. They're fighting with small arm fire against artillery on the part of ISIS. The king was just here complaining about not being able to purchase or get the ordnance he needs in his fight against ISIS. We have got to take this seriously because the Middle East is coming apart at the seams.
But why does the president act in this way? Why is he so reticent to get a plan to name Islamic terror and go after them? Well, why? I don't know. Because he's running a grave political risk. Because if ISIS comes here and commits a terrorist atrocity in the United States of America, this president has a real problem on his hands, and so do we all.
This president is very focused on his domestic agenda, and an irritant for him is what is happening overseas. And so as he focuses more and more on selling his domestic agenda and presuming that we can ignore what's going on in the Middle East, the situation spirals out of control, where yesterday Yemen fell. Here's another ally to the United States, and then today we find that, you know, we've abandoned our embassy. We find that Al-Qaeda suddenly has taken over a stronghold there over the night, and it's one more reminder to us of just how bad things are going as our allies become increasingly nervous and as more and more territory falls.
What can you do about this? Because it is not Congress's job to run military and foreign policy. It's not your job, but you're chair of a Foreign Affairs Committee. Right. What can you do?
One of the things we do, and we just had a hearing yesterday in order to get this information out in front of the public, one of the things we do is bring in witnesses, including former military, former ambassadors. When you have the former ambassador from Iraq say that he repeatedly urged the President of the United States, you know, to take air power and use airstrikes before Mosul, for example, was overtaken by ISIS, and that one defeat alone allowed ISIS to get their hands on the Treasury, you know, the central bank of the country. They're now the richest terrorist organization in history, all of it unnecessary. So what we're doing is we're passing legislation. We're using this as a forum. We are in theater meeting with our allies, such as Israel, such as the King of Jordan, meeting with the ambassadors, for example, from the Gulf states, and we're hearing the same message from all of them, which is you're not taking this seriously. The wheels are coming off. ISIS is on the march, and so is Iran, and your influence is waning, and the barbarism that's replacing the stability that existed in these communities is horrific. That's the message we're hearing.
Congressman Ed Royce, we thank you very much indeed for being with us today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Stuart.
Sir.